Welcome back, Mogalites, to another Tea Time with Steve. And it is I, your Brew Master. And today our special guest is, we got someone with quite the record. We have Jared Collier. Let's give him a clap. Clap. Jared Collier, also known as RCX King Modi on YouTube. He's also a team of the famous RC Reality CX. And congratulations, he is back to being a Bushiroad judge officially. Yay, more claps, more claps, more claps. Quite the resume you got here, Jared. Quite the resume. How does it feel to do all of that?
Like doing all the tops and going to Worlds multiple times. It feels pretty good. I can't complain about it.
See, look at that. Champions, champions, champions. So what we're here talking about today is the concept of the the two dueling mindsets in the Buddyfight community. I call it our casual consortium versus our competitive coalition. And looking at your extensive resume here, is it fair to say you are a competitive player?
Yeah, I've been playing competitive since about a year into the game, but I probably didn't seriously practice until around the end of 2016.
Oh, what set was that?
I believe it was probably the middle of Triple D, when Shadow Stage are really good. That's when I was grinding a lot.
Ah, good. So, one thing we always clarify between our casuals and our competitives is, what do you think it means to be a competitive player?
It's kind of a broad question, but usually it's if you're just looking to do the best you can in a tournament or looking to always top whenever you can, trying to be optimal in your play, just making sure you're the best player you can be, not not being like a spike or anything where you're trying to take advantage of your opponent making a mistake. Trying to play test and play the best game you can. Really, that's kind of what I like to do. If I'm not playing my best, even though I won that tournament, I feel like I did worse than tournaments where I've done worse at.
I understand. So, we've had other competitors and other casuals, and something we always come up with is this conversation of, playing good decks. And I always think this is always fun to ask people, but what does it mean to be good? As you know, good is such a subjective and open-ended and broad term, yet I feel like every time you say it, you do have a picture of what is good in your mind. That's why you're comfortable saying, I play good decks. So what is good?
Maybe not always playing good decks. Obviously that helps a lot. A lot of my tops come from probably playing the best decks in the format at the time. But when looking for good players or people that are well-minded about the game is how they talk about it, what their opinion on cards on, debating how they tested. A lot of people talk about how they think this strategy or this deck or how they did this was the best way. And it's if you didn't fully test that, I don't really think so. As long as if, you can tell that you've played test enough of the meta, you've been more prepared. I say you're good if you know how to prepare yourself for a tournament. Sometimes opinions can be skewed where it's they think this card is better than this card of this deck, better than this deck. As long as you have good established opinions and good playtesting marks on why it's that way, then I think that's a sign of a good player where they're constantly trying to figure out things instead of just assuming it works like this.
Well, what's the metric of play testing? How many? Because I contend that as you know of the legendary Midwest Chief, you know of him, and I would wager that those of us in the Chicago area, because of just how the layout of the Midwest is, Buddyfighters Underground is the shop you want to be in Chicago. It's just, Bushiroad's little depot of meta. And I think I would wager that even though I am casual, I can't even deign to look at things if they're not cute. It took me however long Lost World's been out, minus 3 months is when I decided to get a Lost World deck. Only because it was the only piece away. And it really was. Because the cards are ugly. You're what? I was oh no, they look grotesque. They look grotesque. I thought it was Bushiroad's take on Eldrazi from Magic. I was they are just ugly little monsters. I'm not playing. I'm not touching it. I refuse.
I can kind of see that. That's kind of funny.
So, yeah, if it wasn't for Electro Duty's only way to be semi like playable was to get a Lost deck. I was like, fine, I'll do it. But I find that in Cardfights Underground, even with my casualness, I am forced. Like, just if I want to play the game, there's a mathematical chance that I'm playing against meta. And that's just because the way my locals are structured. So my casual decks, if they become decent enough to beat my locals, to do good in my locals, I would say like, oh no, I got like 3 people who sat at Worlds at this table, and I have managed to beat them at least once through a series of testing. I think I've play tested enough. But some people are like, but did you go to regionals? Did you put it on the online? Did you put the interwebs? Have you put it in the debates? Is there a Reddit thread for it? And it's like, I don't know about all that, but I know that I won against 3 world places, and I won all 3. So, not saying my locals is better than yours, but
Yeah, I guess in that sense, it's more or less kind of saying how in the like saying where you have world's competitors at your locals, how well you've done against them. That's probably a sign of like how much better player you are. But in terms of decks, I like to try to meticulously understand like what's the interactions between every matchup, what's like their weaknesses, how do they fare in this meta. A few decks that like I've seen top, especially last season, though, where I'm like, I'm not sure if maybe this person got a little lucky, or they hit really good matchups, or people didn't understand interactions. Like the rules in this game are more complicated than they should be. So a lot of time I feel like people miss interactions on certain cases. Like Chicago had an issue with Blackworks timing, and it messed up one of my friends. Sometimes FTKs can get there really easily, stuff like that. I don't think FTKs are usually part of the meta unless they're like extremely consistent, like Gargo was. And it's kind of just do your own testing, like really efficiently to know what the meta is. And like obviously weird things can top, but I think knowing what's good is like doing really grounded testing and figure out interactions. Like I don't actually play too much as I can. I kind of like go through the motions of like what cards can do this, because the timings are pretty minimal in Buddyfight. You can kind of like, oh, if I do this, then they can't do this kind of scenario. So I didn't
yeah.
like. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh well, that's that talking over thing we warned about in post.
Yeah.
Don't hit
Well,
me.
like the big example I had is when I won Houston last season is that I didn't actually play test against Prisms with my D Dragons a lot. I played a lot of Prism Dragons to understand that deck, but a lot of time I was just looking at the scenarios that D Dragons could do against the deck, and every time I looked at it, it's like, all right, don't attack them and just wait to epoch on their turn, and they maybe have 1 out in the entire deck that beats that. So and that worked out, and that's how I was able to win most of my matches against Prism Dragons.
I say, well, I think it's a great segue because your channel, RCX_King Modai, you post a lot of YouTube content where it shows a lot of rulings that you think people would get kind of screwed away on, and like you post like commonly misinterpreted rulings. So what do you think is like a common? It doesn't look that complicated, but it actually is that complicated ruling you think that happens in Buddyfight that most miss?
That's probably from the 2 videos I made so far. The first one was on Aldo Athora's overturn. It was like hard to understand when it came out. I didn't really even understand it until the beginning of last season. But yeah, it's like weirdly complicated, but also not, because it has a really unique timing. And replacement effects are really complicated, which is the last video I uploaded. So it's kind of understanding we're understanding where those cards come into play and like when they're supposed to be used in the rules. 'Cause a lot of people just won't read the rules thoroughly and just won't understand like how this actually works. They're kind of told how it's worked, and that's what I want to try to cover is like how these effects actually work in the timings.
Yeah, I think my favorite my favorite one that we discovered in the Race Against Time tournament held by Smuggle Gaming, Midwest Chief, yes, was Time Dragons versus Athura. And Athura didn't do the typical overturn. It did the everyone is +1 million defense overturn. And the Time Dragon dude played the spell that says your stats can't move, stop that. And so there was the debate about if he did it in response to the overturn, then does the stats, didn't it, like, is it too late? Like, and then there was this debate of, is the stats too late? Can the stats go back up? Or if you do it after the overturn, does that mean, your stats are already up, so now they can't go back down?
Mhm.
And then I heard the most simplest way to say that is in Buddyfight, the no always wins out. So whether he did it before or after, your 1 million will go back to base, and these time dragons will proceed to run over you because they're fair. Love it. But I thought, learn something new there. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. But let's talk about what's going on. So as you see now, thanks to the wave of the pandemic, plague season, I think this is all happening because plague, the time dragon flag specifically had a line of text that said that plague thing that doesn't work here. And they're like, fine, we'll turn the world over. So, the whole world goes over.
They're getting their revenge for not being playable for like 2 years, and Time Dragon said, "Oh, you're not gonna be playable now." That's cool.
Ever. Like, yeah. No, I understand. I'm like, that incubation period.
I kind of like Plague. That's cool, but it's definitely had some rough times.
Sad. All that gimmick. It's so strong. Let's pour some tea out for it. Pour a cup for the homie. But with all the delays in Buddyfight product, it looks like that, well, if we get a world, that the one time we have singles, everything will come out at once. We'll have Buddy Again Volume 2, Buddy Again Volume 3, Glory Valiant. And what do you think, and that means Legend Horrors, P5, Phantom Thief Dragon, and Time Dragons will all be in the same crowded kiddie pool that is the meta. And what do you think, if you had to list 2 decks, what 2 decks will come out on top?
Going into Glory Valiant or just Volume 3?
After that.
I think just based on how the consistent the decks are, it's probably Time Dragons and Super Warriors, but I haven't playtested any of the new set at all, so I can't say for sure. Like, a big thing is people should just playtest their stuff on their own. They shouldn't assume certain decks are bad just because Glory's out. A lot of the new cards are very powerful, but just knowing those 2 decks, I feel like they'd still be very good going into those metas, but definitely need to playtest it a lot more.
That's good. So you're part of the team Reality CX. You're part of the Buddyfight division. I think they have somebody for every game, right?
We just have Buddyfight and Weiss, and Buddyfights has about 5 members. It's me, Austin Summers, Khalil, Corey Turner, and Cameron Big Cam. Cameron just got second at Worlds.
Yes, we love a champion. Yeah. We celebrate y'all. What is that like to be a member of a team? Is there requirements? Are there, only the strong will survive? How does it work? So many anime have just depicted you've lost once, bye.
If that was the case, I think I'd be kicked out. I haven't done well at Worlds at all. I feel like I'd be worse at it, but going 3 times is already a pretty big accomplishment.
Weakness is a sin. I don't know. So what is it like being part of a team? What do you do? What are the requirements? Can anyone join, or do you know?
So originally when I started, it was me, Austin, and Khalil, and we were kind of if we want someone on the team, we all have to agree to them, and we have to we can mostly like them. We don't want to have someone on the team who's kind of a shit poster or anything like that, or someone just kind of riles up online more. But it was more we just want a bunch of people we can creatively and criticize each other together, where we can look at the meta more. And Corey's a big friend of Austin and Khalil, so he joined the team. I was pretty down for it. And then Cameron got second, and he goes to a lot of regionals. So overall, it was Cam's going to be a big part of the team going to events, and he's getting a lot better as the game goes on. He had a pretty good run last season, but he's been playing for over a year, and I've been helping a lot to get better too.
Oh, good. So what are you going to take into this next season?
Oh, I don't know. Just as I said, I really need to test Glory, and probably gonna talk to everyone about that whenever season starts again. Or actually, I'm sorry. I had different intentions for next season if it does happen. Is I was actually gonna judge as much as I could. I don't think I'm actually gonna try to qualify again.
We need more competent judges. Judge program is let's just say I've been on the floor end of that, and I'm like, wow, you all are. Did you say penetrate was not affect damage? Interesting.
Oh
What
my
is
god,
it?
that happened at Houston almost, or like there was a big dispute about how penetrate worked, and I'm like, how do you not know this? This is like the simplest ruling in the world.
It's like, oh. And now, I mean, I was sitting with my hand in my cards. I was like, I was, you know, sitting there going, oh, I, but he, are you okay? Is he okay? Is he in charge? Oh, he's an authority figure. Wow. Wow, I'm gonna go get some.
That's what it felt like going
You
to regionals, right? Where it felt like every judge could almost like stop you from like winning because they like have some ruling that completely defied your strategy or your cards. It kind of felt bad, right?
yes. Oh, that I know. We have a beautiful. We'll have to have a stories episode where we discuss some of my favorite regional events because there
Yeah.
was one where I was like, I literally it was a team league and I watched Khalil's team lose over. They misruled Aldo Arthur, and I was like,
Oh dang,
but
really?
yeah, no, and it was literally a loss that we watched happen, and like there was 12 of us just in a circle going, "You, no, you are completely okay." And we all thought, "Wow, did they just get kicked out of top eight because of this ruling?" And they came in eighth, and I was like, "Oh yes."
Oh,
And
that was like 2
then
years ago then. Yeah.
yes, oh, they came in eighth, and like in anime, they had to go against the people that put them there in the first place. At top eight, I was like, is it this? Where's the theme music? Where is the outro credits? Like, next, why? This is plot. Like, you can't have scripted this better. Like, this was so delicious. It was a good event. I was happy because that was when I used water, and I was like, oh, casual players represent in the. But it is interesting. So one more question. We're talking about the community itself. And what do you think is with this divide between competitive and casual people? The competitive people say the casual people ruin the game, and the casual people think the competitive people, well, y'all care nothing but victory, and victory is not enjoying the spirit of Buddyfight, and you know, you've ruined it for everyone or something.
I don't know about that. I think the casual community is a huge part of the game. Like a lot of people keep talking about a reboot recently because we're not sure what's going on with the sets. But I think if a reboot happens, a lot of the casual crowd's going to leave, and then where's the rest of the game? Like, we're probably not going to survive uh, consistently if it happens. At least in my opinion, if it works like how Vanguard did, I don't think it'll go very well. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I love how everyone's unconcerned. I always think it's like whenever one of these sets, I personally, I don't mind a reboot because Vanguard wise, I as a casual player, the only clan I've ever played was Murakumo, and I don't know what happened, but who'd have thunk a reboot was the answer to all our problems? I was like, ha, okay, did like I did the but back to Buddy Fight.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know, if a reboot happens, if the cards are pretty, you know that I'm just gonna promote
Yeah, like
it.
I'd be excited for a reboot if it was like for 72 Pillars or Skull Warriors. Those are some of my favorite old decks.
My children, the Skull Warriors, which leads me to my next question. It's the end of Ace. Like Valiant looks to be the conclusion of that set. And you know, after every set, we kind of have what I like to call Title Five or Life Alert or the Senior City Zombies. We have a set for the old people, like Buddy Lineage, or they kind of always, you know, scrub Grandpa some pudding. And who do you think would glow up? What do you think will glow up in the old set? Like, who were you hoping to see a comeback?
Real quick, can I go back to the question we were talking about casual and competitive? I just wanted to do another comment on
Oh,
that.
always in Feb.
And like, I don't think there's like a huge divide. I think some casual players might see like high level players or competitive players as spikes because that's kind of like how a lot of other card game communities kind of portray it as. I think Magic has a problem with that, but I don't think there's a big divide as long as we're all human beings about it. We don't like trash talk each other about it. I think a lot more casual players kind of post some opinions that aren't the most competitive because I said I don't think people playtest correctly enough. You just got to be productive about it. You can't just slander people for having different opinions like that. You kind of be constructive and like figure out why they came to that conclusion. I think if we all just talk more, if whoever decides to be more casual, more competitive, just be more open about it. And if some more casual players want to get better, try to top, just try to be helpful with it. I have tons of friends in my area that they look up to me to give them advice on the game, but we all got to put work in together to do that. So
Yeah, I was gonna say if you like a trial by combat, definitely just come down to Underground. We don't really like help you as much as we beat you in Magic. Magically, you should just get better. I'm wearing makeup now to cover all the bruises because I'm like, what the? Okay, just put my children back in the box.
No, I try to have fun with the game too. I'm not always like trying to play super competitive decks. I just enjoy really good decks. Like who doesn't like playing a really efficient deck that draws like 15 cards in a turn? That feels nice.
Doesn't it? And then they play Disturbed Hand. I was like, oh, well, yeah. I guess Grace of the Sun Deity. Well, I guess that's over. Right.
Yeah, I hope they ban Disturbed Hand or something. That combo is so good.
It's okay. It's all right. Because who likes Obstruct but one-handed?
And you said the other question, Steven, was it just about Glory Valiant? Or were you talking about if there was a reboot? I didn't quite understand.
I'm saying like after Glory Valley, at the end of like all the sets, like at the end of a series run its little course or whatever, I call them the Life Alert sets. They always give you a buddy lineage, like a set for the old people. And I'm wondering if the set for the old people comes out, what old archetypes do you think would get support?
It's a good question. We'll look at spoiler real quick just to remember.
Well, Buddy Again Volume 3 came back with all our long lost old friends like Cosmo Dragoons, Wild Dragon, Spectral Strike, and Shinsengumi. Oh, my goodness.
I would personally like support for Wizards if that was like something they do. I'm not sure if they ever will because Grandfather Clock is still a really powerful card, even though they eroded extra turns. That's just an archetype that doesn't have good support in like a long time. Even the ones they got in last set, I think that was also Lineage. I can't remember, but like they were just not worth it really. Skull Warriors probably another one. Just these are ones that I've probably played a lot, and I just recently realized they don't have as much support. Purgatory Knights maybe. Like there's a lot of old stuff. I think they've covered pretty much everything that is more or less relevant with the last two sets. Or I guess there is one thing. They should really give Executioners and Guardians some love.
Oh, really? They don't think they can just stay in the basement?
Like the last support they got was like I think it was also Lineage. Like the Executioners got the set spell that reduces damage. Guardians got like another card, but it was like one card each. It's like, well, what happened? I know Executioners are like really annoying and really good. And Guardians are really solid, but it's just like I feel like they're just kind of forgetting about them before she leave.
Oh, that is you are right. You are right. I know there are some people who are like, what about my Mega Man deck? I don't know. What about it? He got an impact monster. Come on now.
Yeah, like Hero World setup with the last set. They're fine. They don't. Who wouldn't want more specific support? But Super Robots and Super Wares are basically just a combination of all the stuff they've ever gotten. And it's kind of a cool way to go about it.
Thank you. I'm afraid I just don't want that for Katana World. I don't need my Blade Beast in my. Well, actually, no, like a Way of the Sword, Blade Beast, Blade Dancer, all in one giant sword. I'm like, oh, well, guys, I'm here for it. I can't say I'm not here for this, but it is that. Yeah, this is great. So, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Jared. You've been an amazing guest. We love your insight. We're sorry we couldn't see that wonderful face, but those who know you, and we see the emblem of Magic World. So with that being said, do you have any social media, any channels you want to plug and tell our audience, for all you Mogalites out there? We'll have all his links down in the description box below. But
Yeah,
tell them
just
about
yeah, just of course my YouTube that I just started up, RCX_King Modi. If you want to go there for rulings videos, I'm going to upload one every Wednesday. And I don't know, I'm not sure what other content I'm going to make, but definitely for rulings that I don't think people have good access to, I'm going to try to make videos for. So look forward to that. And then I have my Twitter with the same thing, RCX_King Modi. I don't post too much on there, but we'll see. I interact with a lot of Japanese players on there. That's about it.
Oh, very good. Always like Sugoi Desune. I think I said that right. Oh, I'm not racist.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steven. I appreciate it. If there's like anything you want to talk about next time, or if we have it next time, let me know. And just
Oh, don't worry.
more insight.
We'll have the whole competitive consortium on at one point, so we can just get all your inputs at once. But thank you guys. And you know this is YouTube, so our Mogalites will see you next time. What do you think is going to be meta after Growing and Valiant? And you know, like I said, it's YouTube, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Bye.